My name is Caitlin Caggiano. I am a guitar instructor. I'm based here in Orlando, Florida. This is my 10th year of teaching and working the conference. I love teaching. I have performed most of my life. I got my degree in classical guitar. I was based in Nashville for a little bit. I'm currently based here in Orlando. I live like 20 minutes down the road. It's super easy to get here. But I love teaching. That's really my heart. I have turned down a lot of performing opportunities, very high-level performing opportunities to focus solely on teaching. I really believe that's what God has called me to do, and I love doing it. We'll talk a little bit about this today, but I really believe music is one of the tongues, the language of music, and understanding theory and how to speak that on our instrument is very important. So I love what I do. Honestly, I'm healthily obsessed with teaching this instrument and how to speak the language of music with this instrument. I do have an instrumental guitar show at Disney. I am not playing this week because I need to take it off because there's too much going on. But that's kind of what I do when I perform now. I used to be playing at a lot of churches, and I have 2 nephews now, and I'm trying to have more of a personal life. So I only play at churches about once a month now. Was anybody in the acoustic drum class? Okay. So that's the church that I attend here in Orlando, Florida, Key Church. Great church. Spelled Q-U-A-Y. If you ever are in Orlando and need a church, it's a wonderful, wonderful church, Key Church. Yes, so I'm excited today. We're going to be talking all about lead guitar mastery. Sometimes that word might seem a little daunting, like how are we actually going to be able to master the entire fretboard in an hour session? But I am today going to give you the tools to master the entire fretboard in the hour session. I am more focused on the concept rather than just trying to memorize everything on the instrument. I talked yesterday about how I'm more focused on formula and fluency rather than forced memorization. So I am going to give you what you need to master the entire fretboard before you leave, okay? Now, the diagram that we're going to look at today later is going to be in the key of C. We're going to do everything in the key of C, but everything is movable and shiftable. And if you can understand, not play it perfectly, not memorize it, but if you can understand what we're doing today, you will be just fine, okay? That's really all you need. The things are actually very simple. And I'm not a normal guitar teacher. If someone wants to, I will teach a song, but I really don't teach songs. I teach you how to understand this instrument, understand the divine nature of this instrument, and really become fluent speaking the language of music on this instrument. So who in here you would refer to yourself as a lead guitar player? Wonderful. Who in here is probably a rhythm electric player? Who is primarily a rhythm acoustic player? Okay, very good. What did you say? Who's a bass player? Anybody in here not play the guitar at all? All right. Why are you in here? I did not mean it like that. What intrigued you to be in here?
I told them to come here.
There we go, okay. That makes me so happy, Guy. How long have I known you? 15 years? Probably? Okay, well that's why. That makes sense. I did not mean it like that. But anyway, that's wonderful. Very good. Is anybody in here, has anybody in here put themselves in the box of rhythm guitar player and always wanted to step out into lead guitar playing and just never took the step? Very good. Okay. So I will say this, when you are wanting to become or step into the lead guitar role in the lead guitar world, we're usually so focused on learning lead parts when it's really important to first understand the language of music on the instrument. We talked yesterday with the capo stuff about the cage system, and we're actually going to be using the stuff that we talked rhythm guitar-wise for lead guitar stuff today, okay? Because if we think about it, rhythm guitar players and lead guitar players are using the same tools. They're just using them differently. Everything is coming from the same, I would say 12 notes, but with what we're doing is primarily diatonic, everything within the keys, so the same 7 notes. If you have had success as a rhythm guitar player, there's nothing stopping you from being a lead guitar player, okay? I will leave a little bit of time for Q&A at the end. I believe this is the last session, the last workshop session of the entire conference. Thank you for choosing to spend it with me. That makes me feel really good. So if you want to, hopefully nobody kicks us out of this room, but if we need to go over a little bit for questions, I'm totally fine with that. I don't really talk gear at all. I really don't care. I shouldn't say I don't care about gear at all, but it is not, I don't think about it. because I really believe, I mean, I'm old school, I think tone is in the fingers, but I believe there's been such a focus on gear that we've not even learned how to speak the language of music. And I would recommend anything I teach you today, if you can, go home and learn it on the acoustic guitar and just ignore the effects, ignore all of that for a little bit. So let's talk about it. Today, we are going to learn how to truly have a masterful understanding of the fretboard. And we're going to base a lot of what we're doing today on the cage system. I know other than, if you were in here yesterday, don't raise your hand, but who here has learned any of the cage system? Who has heard of it and never really learned it? Who has learned the cage system or learned part of the cage system and uses it every single time you play the guitar? Literally every single time. Good, we'd love to hear that, okay? Sometimes I teach lessons and people say, oh, I already learned it, I don't need to learn it. And then I will ask them, how often do you use it? And if the answer is not every single time we play, you're probably not taught the cage system correctly or not taught how to apply it. And sometimes that freaks people out because they think, I want to feel, I don't want to think, I want to just play and feel the music and not have to do like math in my head or follow a roadmap or something. When I say I use the cage system every single time I play or perform, it's basically how, if I were to say, I use the blueprint of my home every day. I obviously, when I get out of bed, I don't need to pull up a map to go from my bedroom to the kitchen because the blueprint is already instilled in my head. Now, maybe I have an incredibly small home, but when I first moved, maybe I didn't know where everything was. So that's what I mean when we're going to use it every day. We're not going to be actively thinking about it. It would become, that's what I'm talking about with fluency, okay? I am more focused on formula and fluency rather than forced memorization. I will never tell you to memorize anything. If I do tell you to memorize something, it will be like a formulaic thing that you just simply plug things into, okay? So the things we're going to talk about today, I first want to talk about what a key actually is and what a major scale actually is. That's the first thing. We have to have a little bit of theory. Music theory is my love language. I absolutely love it. I am obsessed with it. I always wanted to be a math teacher, and I think music is math with emotions to so much of it. But music was a language created by God, and God is a God of order, not a God of chaos or confusion. If you are ever learning music theory or music or the guitar and something is confusing, it is not being taught to you correctly because there is a divine order to all of this. So even if there's some things that I'm saying today that might look difficult to do with your fingers, if you can understand the concept, that's all you need right now, okay? You do not have to leave here thinking you have to be professionally playing all this stuff at all, okay? So those are the first things I want to talk about, just the theory background. The next thing I want to talk about is something called the cage blueprint. Oh, if you were here yesterday, hopefully there was some breakthrough there with that. And then from the cage blueprint, we're going to be plugging in the major scales, okay? Or at least the major scale for the key of C. We're also going to be talking about the importance and how vital it is to understand the numerical language to music. Because if you can well, I'll get into that. I don't want to say that just yet. I'll leave it as a surprise. But also, did anybody go home, I know you did not go home and come back, but does anybody have their guitar with them and actually like practice the bar chord hack or tried that since yesterday? Okay, isn't it life-changing? If you want to know about the bar chord hack, ask him. Because you're the reason why we did it. I almost forgot. All right, I love it. Okay, so I want to talk about the theory background of this. If you don't like music theory, I'm not going to apologize because I really want you to fall in love with it. So can somebody here who was not here yesterday, because yesterday I said my definition of it, but someone who was not here yesterday, can someone define what a key is, what a musical key is? If something is in the key of C, what does that mean? Yes?
It's where a certain sequence of chords fits within around a certain note.
Very good. So there's a certain C, is very specific, right? Anybody have anything to elaborate with that? Yes. Did you have something? Hey, good to see you. Yeah.
Certain keys carry certain sharps or flats.
Very good.
To adhere to.
Good, very, very good. Very good. The way that I like to define a musical key is basically a musical environment or ecosystem in which a song is living in. I like to think about songs as living things because one of the most important things anyone can tell you is to serve the song. It's a lot easier to serve something if it is living and breathing and having a purpose. So it's a musical environment or ecosystem that in which the song is living in, okay? In our world, we have different environments, different ecosystems. There is a certain set of rules that everything needs to abide by for life to survive in that environment or in that ecosystem. In our musical key, our musical ecosystem, the set of rules that everything needs to abide by, I'm talking every note, every line, every note of the vocal melody, the notes in the guitar parts, the bass lines, anything and everything needs to abide by the key's major scale. That means if I'm playing a song in the key of C, every note in that song is coming from the 7 notes of the C major scale. Now, it's very important to understand music is a creative realm. So we have artists and bands that break these rules. But as Picasso said, know the rules like a professional so you can break them like an artist. There are so many people that have been playing guitar for a long time and they've never learned the rules, okay? There's also rules to breaking the rules, and that's where things get really exciting. Now, worship music, I'm assuming most of us in here, that's what we do. Worship music is a genre and a style, which sometimes people get offended by that, but it is what it is, that is primarily diatonic, which means there are no broken rules. So if today, this morning, I'm playing a song in the key of D flat, that means everything in that song is in the key of D flat, except her first song, which was written in C sharp mixolydian, which had a flat 7 in it, but which I was thinking about it as D flat mixolydian because I don't do sharps. I do sharps, but I don't think about them. I'll never play something in F sharp. I always played it in G flat, and I think it sounds better because I don't like thinking about an E sharp note. I'm not going to think that way at all. Anyway, so that's what I'm talking about with the musical key. Does that make sense so far? Okay, great. Now, let's talk about the major scale. The major scale is very important because it is the rule of our major key. And I'm just talking about major keys, okay? Even if I was playing a song in the key of B flat minor this morning, but I was thinking about it as the relative major of D flat major. So even if you are in a minor key, there's always the relative major. The only time you're not going to think about it as the relative major is when it is a minor key that's built off of like a harmonic or melodic minor scale, which will probably never happen in worship music, okay? So we're thinking about major keys and major scales. Why is it important to know the major scale in music? Whether it's the guitar, piano, or vocalist or anything, why is it important to know the major scale? Other than me telling you it's where everything comes from. What can we do with it?
You know the number system if you know the major scale.
There we go. If you know the number system, you can know the major scale, so 7 notes. We can also play any melody, okay? We can also improvise. Now, worship music is a bit of a genre where, not that improvisation is frowned upon, but usually when you have a song for Sunday, you have to learn the guitar parts, which is frustrating sometimes because when you're only playing things you have to play for, you're only going to learn things you have to learn them for, and you will never learn how to improvise. The overall health of a musician's musicianship, I believe, can be determined by their ability to improvise. Because what is music if it's not a language? Music is a language, therefore music is communication. If somebody is fluent in whatever language they're speaking, the best way to recognize that is having a conversation with them in real time. That's what improvisation is. And this is as deep as, I'll probably go deeper, but this is as weird and deep as I'll probably get. If you don't like it, you can leave. I really believe music, the language of music, I believe it is a tongue, a spiritual tongue. And I believe it is so important to allow ourselves to become fluent in it, so when the Spirit speaks to us, there are no limitations, and we know where everything is. So I had to learn some guitar parts for things today, but it was a 30-minute set, and last night I just ran through things, and it was less than 25 minutes that I spent working on 30 minutes of material, because I wanted to leave room. I know myself, and I am fluent in this language in any key, so I wanted to leave those moments where they can be spontaneous, and it was wonderful. So that is the goal here, is to eventually not just know what you're doing when you're playing guitar lines, but we want to be able to improvise. Does that make sense so far?
Yes.
Wonderful. So let's figure out how we can actually do that. Now, we can go really far into what the major scale is, the whole step and half step, intervallic formula with all of this, but I want to make this as practical as I can because I have less than an hour with you now, okay? So there are a few steps to understanding the major scale across the entire fretboard, but let's first understand what lead guitar playing is. Somebody tell me what lead guitar playing is.
Playing the hooks and recognizable parts.
Very good. Anybody else? What does it mean to be a lead guitar player? What are you doing?
Adding texture to a song.
Very good.
Do you want me to use your definition?
Go for it.
Being as the salt in the air.
Hey, very good. I love that. Okay, I use different senses other than just the ear. But if you're on the beach, the salt that you taste is what I think worship lead guitar playing is. Very, very good. I love it. Very good. I love it. Are you Italian? Is that why you're using your hands?
No.
Okay,
no,
I'm Cajano, and so I'm
you
very.
want me to be Italian?
No, but I'm very. Sometimes I'm too Italian, but I recognize when people use their hands. Okay, so when we are a lead guitar player, and let me think more of an improvisational standpoint, even though this can be used with playing lines. If a song is in the key of C, that means I need to have an understanding. Notice I said need to. I really believe you should. I need to have an understanding of the C major scale across the entire fretboard of the guitar, which is the first 12 frets. Okay, so from the open string, if it's usable, to the 12th fret, that is what I want to have an understanding of the C major scale if I'm playing a song in the key of C. Now, if I said, okay, somebody come up here and point to every single C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C on this fretboard, that is maybe a difficult thing to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to use very simple tools to make that happen, okay? And we're going to allow muscle memory to do the heavy lifting for us. So the steps we're going to take here, the first step is we need to understand what the caged blueprint is and how we find that and form it on the guitar. The second step, we're simply going to plug in the notes of the C major scale. So the caged, was anybody in here yesterday that wants to say what the caged blueprint is? Tell me you're just shy and you actually did learn it though. Okay. So the caged blueprint is outlining the fretboard into 5 shapes for any key. Now, if you have some understanding of the cage system, you can probably recognize that I can have a C chord in the C shape, in the A shape, in the G shape, in the E shape, and the D shape. Okay, I can have my 5 shapes of the C chord. What we learned yesterday is that's not just 5 shapes of the C chord, it's also the caged blueprint of the key of C. So I'm going to do this for the key of C, and later I'm going to do it for another key. But if I was in the key of C and I wanted to understand where every note of the C major scale was in that key, I'm going to break down the fretboard in the caged blueprint for the key of C.
Last fret.
What do you say?
The last fret.
The last fret, yes. There we go, the furthest fret.
Okay, remember.
There we go, I love it. To find the blueprint for any key, to find the caged blueprint for any key, we're going to find the 5 cage system shapes of the 1 chord of that key, which is the chord that has the same name as that key. So if I'm in the key of C, I need to find the 5 cage system shapes of the C major chord. Okay, now I have courses on my website. I also have videos on my Instagram. You probably don't have to scroll too far if you click on that. And it will break this down very efficiently. What I'm about to do, you do not need to be able to do this with your fingers. You just need to be able to visualize this. That's why I'm big with the diagrams, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to form the 5 cage system shapes of the C major chord, giving me the blueprint for the key of C. This is how I do it. I'm going to start with the C chord in the C shape. I'm now going to go to the furthest fret, and that's where the index finger bar is placed for the next shape, which is C major in the A shape. I'm going to continue using this furthest fret rule, which would be the 5th fret. That's where the index finger bar is placed for now the C major chord in the G shape. I'm going to continue using the furthest fret rule again. Furthest fret is the 8th fret. That's where the bar is placed for C major chord in the E shape. Furthest fret rule once more. The 10th fret, the index finger bar is placed for C major chord in the D shape. Now, because the cage system is a cyclical system, meaning it can go C, A, G, E, D, C, A, G, E, D, on and on and on, when I finish the D shape, I can connect it to the C shape again. This is what I refer to as completing the cycle. What happens when we do that? The furthest fret rule changes. Anybody remember from yesterday?
After you go to past the 12th fret, you go back up.
That's actually the step after that. The furthest fret rule changes by 1 fret. So if I wanted to connect the D shape into the C shape again, instead of the furthest fret, which would be the 13th fret, it's the 12th fret. That's where the index finger bar is placed for C in the C shape again. Now the reason for that is because the root is a very important note. The root is where the connection point actually is. And whenever something is located on the B string, things shift by a half step. The root is located on the B string from going from the D shape to the C shape. That's the root connection point there, okay? So that is how I form the 5 cage system shapes of the C chord. My cage system crash course is a great video for that. Also, if you want to look at that diagram that I'll put up a little bit later, that will explain it as well. You do not need to do this with the fingers. Visualization over sound quality, visualization over everything for this, okay? So now, how do we actually use this? How is this our blueprint? What this is going to do is this is going to break down the fretboard into 5 boxes. Now I refer to these as shapes, not boxes, for a few reasons. One, because it's important to understand the shape where this is coming from, because that will help us with chord tones later on in the future. But also, I don't refer to things as boxes, because when we think boxes, we usually think numbers. If you've ever learned your pentatonic boxes, you think like, okay, box 1, box 2, box 3, whatever they are. I don't think things in boxes, I think things in shapes, because usually the boxes are not in the correct order. I'll always refer to them as shapes. Now they can look like boxes. So what this is going to do is this is going to give me a C shape area, an A shape area, a G shape area, an E shape area, and a D shape area of the fretboard, okay, which will cover the 12 frets. What I can do now is take this area, which will look like a box, and I can plug in the notes of the C major scale. That way I can work muscle memory with it. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show it to you, and then we're going to actually visualize this. So if I have C in the C shape, here's my C major scale in the C shape. I can have C in the A shape and C major scale in the A shape. I don't need all of that on there. This was what I had programmed for last night. Let me make it a little bit cleaner, hang on. Then C in the G shape, C major scale in the G shape, C in the E shape, C major scale in the E shape, then C in the D shape, C major scale in the D shape. So I now have the entire C major scale programmed in my brain for the fretboard of the guitar. That might seem like a lot to do with your fingers, but does the concept make sense? We're going to visualize it here in just a bit, but if the concept makes sense, that's the most important thing right now, okay? Good so far? Yeah. I will leave questions at the end, but if you do have a question and if you're thinking it right now, write it down so you don't forget it. I'm big on having to answer every question or else I can't sleep at night. I'm such a teacher. I've turned on so many performing things because I'm obsessed with teaching. I love teaching. I really have a heart of a teacher, not a performer. So if you do have a question, make sure I don't want you to forget it. But good so far, okay? You can see here, if I can do this, what I can do now is I can understand what the lines are, okay? I can understand what the lines are. So for example, if I was playing something in the key of C, I can understand that this is a 4, 3, 2, 1, 7, 1, 2, 3, 5. I can understand that because my fingers know the shapes, but this is the next step. I'm going to identify what note is each number, okay? Because that right there is, if you want to take, let's just say, your worship guitar playing to the next level, what you want to do is be able to identify, when you hear something, what it is and how to play it on the guitar. If you do this correctly, you should never have to touch your guitar to learn your songs, other than, obviously, getting technique down and playing through it with timing and metronome, absolutely. But when I'm learning something, the first time I usually play through it is when I'm playing it on the stage. I don't practice, I shouldn't say I don't practice, please don't quote me on that. I don't do any rehearsing at home. I listen to something and I can hear what number it is, working relative pitch, which all of you have and can grow, okay, identifying what number anything is, and then I can visualize where those numbers are in each box or shape, okay? So what we're going to do here is I first want to show you the breakdown of this visually. I know it's over there. The HDMI situation is really making me frustrated, but I'm going to show that to you, and then we're going to talk about how we can learn these numbers. But does this make sense so far? Does everybody here realize they have the potential to do this? Okay? Okay. Are you guys okay if I don't use that microphone and I just talk to you here?
Yes. Please do.
Okay, kids. Let's wait for this to heat up. This was supposed to be over there, and the HDMI cable is too short, so we're all in this together, okay? You can tell I like things being organized and the way they should be. Okay, let's move that out of the way here real quick. Okay. Can we see both diagrams? Can we see them? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Aren't they beautiful? So I cannot tell you any new songs that are out. I cannot tell you any new Netflix show that is out, because if I have any free time, these are what I'm making. I have no life outside of this. That's why I'm the age I am and not married. Okay, so, and when you go on a date with somebody and you tell them that your love language is music theory, it takes a certain kind of person to be okay with that, because why is this what's famous? So, pray for me. Okay, so we have to the left the cage blueprint of the key of C, which is very simply the 5 shapes of the C major chord, is it not? Okay? So we've got that to the left, and you can see here, the way that I do my diagrams, the roots are in red, the thirds are in yellow, the fifths are in blue. You don't even know that theory right now, so ignore it if you don't want to. If you know what that is, fantastic. Okay? But you can see here I've got the high E string, I've got the low E string. These are where the fingers go. Simple enough? Okay? The furthest fret of the C in the C shape, right there. Here's my C in the A shape. The furthest fret of the A shape is the 5th fret, right there. C in the G shape. Now this one, it's a more difficult way of putting a high root on there. You don't need it, but you can see the shape. Furthest fret is the 8th fret. Here's where the bar goes for C in the E shape. Furthest fret is the 10th fret. There's where the bar goes for C in the D shape. Now if you were to complete the cycle and the fretboard formula changes by 1 fret, 12th fret, that's where the bar would go for right here. For C in the C shape, an octave higher. At the bottom diagram are all of them connected. This, before I play any song, I will close my eyes, and this is what I'm envisioning, okay, for any key. If you know this for the key of C, I will show you how we move it around, but if you can understand this for the key of C, the shapes for any other key are exactly the same. The relationship from shape to shape stays the same. I will now show you what I think is the most beautiful thing, I'm going to start crying, it's the most beautiful thing about how the fretboard is designed. Personally for me, because I studied Renaissance music in college, and with Renaissance music the tuning was different, and it really broke my heart to think, why did we change the tuning? We changed the tuning so this thing could happen. And it's such a beautiful sacrifice for these people that were the evolution of the guitar is just such a beautiful romantic thing.
Like I'm missing something.
Just watch. I'm a passionate Italian if you can't tell. Okay, so here we go. Are you ready for this?
Let's do it.
Somebody film this, because this is the greatest thing.
I got you.
Okay, so the root connection point from shape to shape is located on the string that has the same name as the shape you are going into. I will say that one more time. The root connection point from shape to shape is located on the string that has the same name as the shape you are going into. If you can understand this for the key of C, this is the trick to connect everything for any key, because God is a God of order, and there's an order to music. There's an order to this. Nothing is happening by chance. Here we go. The root connection point of the C shape and the A shape is located on the A string. The root connection point of the A shape and the G shape is located on the G string. The root connection point on the G shape to the E shape is located on the E strings. Okay? The root connection point from the E shape to the D shape is located on the D string. Now, if I was connecting the D shape into the C shape, the root connection point from the D shape to the C shape is located on the C string. Hopefully somebody realizes that's not correct, right? What is the string name that has the note that is closest in proximity to the note C? B. So the root connection point of the D string, the D shape to the C shape is located on the B string. Isn't that beautiful? It's the, when you are learning the guitar, can we just stop for a second here? When you are learning the guitar, you are not just learning how to play an instrument, you are developing a relationship with that instrument. If you are developing a relationship with somebody or something, you want to know more about them. I am so sick of guitar lessons just be learning song after song after song after song. You need to learn who your instrument is. Most people have been playing guitar for decades and have never realized that. It is the most beautiful thing. And when you understand this, if you can understand that God has a purpose for this, are you not more valuable than the fretboard of the guitar? Like there's a purpose to everything you do in life. Isn't this beautiful? It's so beautiful. Guys, I cry when I teach this stuff. It's just so beautiful. The fingerprints of God are on the fretboard of the guitar. Okay, so, makes sense so far? Okay, and the wonderful thing about this, they are only recording what's on my microphone, and I don't have a microphone right now, so none of that was recorded, just for you guys, okay? The other conference attendees can't get it. It's being recorded on this thing, so you won't see me, but you'll hear my voice. Here we go. Okay, so now what we've done is I'm going to plug in the notes of the major scale in each of these boxes. Even looking at this from afar, you can see where each shape is. It's pretty much the same area of the fretboard, correct? Okay? So now, let's zoom in and see what's happening. Here is the blueprint of this key of C in the C shape. Here is the C major scale in the C shape. So what I've done, you can see the roots are in the same location. You can also see the C major chord is inside of there, right? So what I've done is we have plugged in the notes of the C major scale inside this area. This is why I refer to these as shapes and not boxes, because we need to know the shapes that these are coming from, because later on this will help us with chord tones and a bunch of fun stuff to make improvisation a lot more creative. So you can see all of that matching. So that would mean, now a C major scale is C, D, E, F, G, A, B. This is where piano players have a difficult time with guitar. So what we're thinking here is a scale shape, not just a scale. A scale is C, D, E, F, G, A, B. C, D, E, F, G, A, B. That's a scale. We're done. That doesn't give us a lot to play with, okay? It gives us one octave. So, no stone left unturned. We want to uncover every single note of the C major scale in this area. That is why some of these scale shapes, if I go from the lowest note to the highest note, it's not the root. It's okay. And this is where I get some pedantic person saying, well, isn't that an E Phrygian mode? Yes, it is, but we're not talking about that. Okay? So, I have plugged in every single note of the C major scale in this area of the fretboard. So if I'm playing this, I'm going to go from E all the way to G. Now, I'll show you how I would practice this. I go back to E and then I resolve to the root. Your ear will always sonically imprint. If it is not professionally trained, your ear will sonically imprint to whatever it lands on. Okay? So you want to make sure you are landing on the root when you practice these, so your ear is imprinting on the tonal center of C major. Here's the A shape. You can see the roots are in the same place, the C major chord is right there. Now this one juts out by an extra fret, but that's just because of the way that this shape is. This shape has a power chord in it, a 1 to a 5. This shape had a 1 to a 3, so it's just a little bit different. We still love them. So we plug everything in. This one does have a finger position shift. I'll explain the finger positions. You want to really try to do one finger per fret. Index finger on the smallest fretted number. I would do index, middle, ring, pinky, and we just shift our fingers up to grab that next note here on the string. The next shape here is the G shape. C major scale in the G shape. You can see there, this one I would have to go back to grab that up there, but you can see this the C chord in the G shape. The next one, I'm going through these fast, but for the sake of time, I just want to get through this. Here's the C in the E shape. You can see that there. And then C in the D shape right there. You can see that C chord in the D shape right there. And then the scale around. The bottom diagram is where everything is. That's what you want in your head at all times, okay? This is how you can play songs that you've never heard before, and if they tell you what key you're in, like this morning, I know where I'm going, okay? That's it. And it helps if you have a trained ear, and so what we can do is I'm going to show you a way to practice this that will actually train your ear for you. Might as well kill that bird. I shouldn't say kill, but you know the same, okay? Good so far?
Yes.
Any like burning questions, or are we able to hold it until I go through this? You okay? If you have them, write it down. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I would practice this for the key of C. I'm going to show it to you with numbers. The C is my root, so that is my 1. I am not thinking C, D, E, F, G, A, B. I'm thinking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Because if I have a guitar part that I'm playing in the C shape, and it's like C, D, E, F, D, C, okay? And they said, okay, well now we're going to play B flat. If we are thinking notes, we're going to get all screwed up. So we want to be thinking the shape. Okay, I'm playing this line in the C shape. And the numbers, I'm playing it and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1. That way when I move this to E flat, I'm just shifting it up, and I'm playing the same shape, and I'm playing the same numbers. Make sense? Okay? I teach guitar in a 3-layer process. The first is shape-based. Just get these down. You don't have to think about the numbers. You don't have to think about the notes or anything else. The second step is numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, on and on and on. The third step is finally plugging in what the notes are. Okay, makes sense? Are we okay if I turn this off because the slide's going to blind me? Okay. So this is how I would practice it. For this, I am totally fine. If you want to film this, this would be beneficial. If you want to come up and get a closer look at it, that's fine, or whatever you want to do. Okay, I'm totally fine. This is your workshop, I'm just teaching it. So here is C in the C shape, C major scale in the C shape. I'm going to say the numbers. You don't have to be doing this right this second, but I want to show you this would be a brilliant way to practice this. C in the C shape, C major scale in the C shape. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you want to go backwards with it, go for it. If you can do 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. If you can do that, then 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Then I strum that again. I am resolving, I'm playing through the whole shape, up and down. You don't have to say the numbers. I'm just doing it so you can see this step. Pretend I'm not if you want to do it like that. Play through the whole shape, resolve back to the lowest sounding root, and then strum through the chord again. That way you are sonically imprinting on the C major tonality, and that way I'm visually, physically imprinting on the shape I'm coming from. This is why I don't call them boxes, okay? Good so far. C in the A shape, C major scale in the A shape. This one starts on a 5, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then if you're going to go backwards, resolve to that root and strum through again. Now C in the G shape. It's going to start in the 6, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Resolve to that root, and there we go. That's a very important one to do this resolving, because that, if you know the pentatonic box, right? We've probably played this before, okay? This is taught as box 1 because it's the easiest box. If a teacher teaches you that as box 1, you're like, well, the guitar is easy, I'm going to stick with the guitar. This is so incorrect, because box 1 starts on the minor 6, which is the most dangerous note if you don't have trained ears, because it has the most pull and resolve to for any note, for any scale, other than the 1, the relative major. So if you're doing that, you're training yourself to imprint on minor tonality, which is so important to imprint on major tonality first. I can tell within probably 5 seconds of somebody improvising if they learn that way. And that's taught as box 1, which is the G shape. Therefore, you are now no longer have the benefit of viewing everything in the cage system. So if you wanted to then learn the C mixolydian mode, well, if you know the C major scale, and I know how to play mixolydian, It's built from the same shape, okay? So if you can always do things in the cage system, you just, to play a different scale, you just plug something else in, okay? So that's why we don't think about boxes. That's also why we don't start with that, because that's the G shape, the third box, if I was thinking box. Let's move on. E shape. C in the E shape, C major scale in the E shape, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2. Go back down. Resolve to that root and play the chord again. C in the D shape. This one's a little weird because it starts furthest away from the root. It starts on the 2. I know there's a 1 here, but a 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4. Resolving back up to the root on the D string. If you wanted to, I would recommend doing this. Playing the C major scale an octave higher. Because if I do the C shape, play the C shape of the C major scale an octave higher, because if I do this scale, put these 5 scale boxes or shapes, the C shape is open. For any other key, it's not going to be open. So practicing it like this. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? So I would do it for the octave higher, which the diagrams have. Makes sense. So if somebody is playing a song in the key of C, and I'm trying to learn a line, I always say when you learn something, it's only going to really benefit you, like to the fullest extent, if you do the full application of it. When you are applying something on the instrument, which most people never do that anyway, there are 2 things you need to do when you apply. One, for lack of a better term, this is regurgitation, but I like to refer to it as transcription. Now, I don't mean you sit there and write Miles Davis solos like what I did in school, but this is transcribing something, hearing it, and playing it like the recording. That's the first thing I'll show you how to do with the application of this. The second thing is improvisation. We need to learn how to speak it on our own. Okay, so let's say I was listening to a guitar part and I'm hearing it and it's this. Okay, back in the day, like that, it's so crazy that that's old now. Okay, so if I'm hearing that and I've done this, saying the numbers and training my ear, eventually you will get to a point where you can hear that and realize it's 4, 3, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. So then if I know it's 4, 3, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, I can play that in any box, okay? And I can play it in any octave. So if there's 2 guitars and I need to play it in another octave, play it lower, I need to find a shape. Okay, it's going to start on the 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 4, 3, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. There we go. So now we can twin the part and I'm playing it low octave. Or if you want to go higher, you can take it higher. But that way you are understanding what you're doing, and every time you learn a song for church, which I'm sure you do that a lot, right? You need to take advantage of the fact that you are learning so much music in such a short amount of time. Like touring musicians play the same set, even if it's like a 90-minute set, everywhere they go. Worship musicians have to learn 4 or 5 new songs every Sunday. So you are intaking so much information. So instead of thinking that, I have to learn all these songs all the time, use it as an excuse to train your ear. I just realized I wasn't on the microphone, so none of that was recorded. I don't know why they still ask me back to this conference. I always forget something. Okay, now we're back on the microphone. This is why I also record things on my own. I've got a microphone here that's capturing everything, so only the people in this room will hear this. So anyway, so train your ear, okay? This is how you can get to a point where you can listen to something, know what it is, and then I can see it on the guitar. This is how, and I say this not to say, oh my gosh, I'm a great guitar player. There's a lot I need to learn, but this is just how you can be fluent. I am fluent in the language where I can listen to something and know what the notes are, the numbers of the notes. It doesn't matter what key it's in. I don't have perfect pitch, but I'm training myself for it. I think I'm pretty close to having it. But I know the notes, the numbers of the notes, and regardless of whatever key it's in, I can see it in every shape, in every octave. So as soon as I hear, this is also great if there's no guitar on the track, and I'm trying to listen to like her voice this morning, and there's some songs that there's not a lot of guitar on, and I'm catching melody lines in real time, and then I'm playing it behind her, okay? Now let's talk about improvisation, which everybody in here needs to start learning how to start improvising. Sometimes people say, I don't know how to improvise and I'm not at the level where I can improvise yet. Well, my 2-year-old nephew isn't at the level where he's speaking English fluently. That is not stopping him from talking, okay? So my name is Caitlin, but for some reason I'm Aunt Dee Dee. Okay, that's all he can say, but he always calls me Dee Dee. I think it's because my family calls me Katie. So you're gonna, this is baby talk. You have to continue. You have to just try doing it. And then eventually, you'll become more fluent in it. So turn on a backing track or a song in the key of C. And when you do that exercise that I showed you going through all of this, do it with a backing track or a song in the background, or even like a C pad drone on YouTube. Okay, I wish I had YouTube as a kid. I would have been a lot better than I am now, because there's so many free resources, okay? But what you're gonna do, you're gonna turn on a drone pad, go on YouTube, drone pad, backing track key of C, or song in the key of C, or whatever. Turn something on, and just start improvising. Start one shape at a time. The G shape is my favorite shape. So if I have a backing track on in the key of C, then anything you want to do, just start messing around with it. Start speaking the language, okay? You don't have to try to be creative. You don't have to try to be perfect. You just want to start spitting stuff out, okay? That's going to stretch the creative muscle. I believe, and it doesn't matter. If I offend people, I offend people. But I really don't appreciate how the modern worship culture, especially like in the church, it's basically an art of regurgitation. You play the line, you listen to the line, it's got to be the same, da-da-da-da-da. There's zero creativity. So I just don't understand, if we were created in the image of God, who is a creator, we were created to create. So if I'm worshiping my God, the creator, I want there to be some creativity in that. So, if I need to play the line, if it's recognizable, great. Other than that, I'm doing anything I want. Yeah. Anything that, I shouldn't say that. I'm serving the song however it should be served, okay? And if you pay attention, the song will tell you what it wants, okay? Especially worship music, because a lot of, I wouldn't say all of it, but a lot of it is God-breathed. So the Spirit, be fluent in the language so you can be sensitive enough to the Spirit with that. But we want to start improvising. If you think you're not creative, sometimes creativity is like a muscle. But let's go back to what I said at the very beginning. Formula and fluency. The formula, if you can have the Cage blueprint, you know where the 5 shapes are of the major scale. If you're in the key, you've got it. So let's say somebody tell me a key they don't like.
D flat.
D flat. No, let's do a different one because that's so close to C, but I love D flat. E flat? E flat or A flat? Okay. Let's do E flat. Let's do E flat. Because A flat we kind of think capo 1 and I can play in open position. Let's do E flat. So step 1, I'm going to form the Cage blueprint of E flat. So E flat in the C shape. I find it because E flat, the root of it's right there. C. I do have a book called Simplifying the Cage System. It's available where those video courses are, and that explains the pictures of this a lot. My Cage crash course is really good, so make sure you guys, if you've not yet, take a video picture, post it to your story like right now so you can enter to win the video course bundle, which will explain all of this in depth. I go over modes, I go over triads, I go over anything and everything. Okay. E flat in the C shape, E flat in the A shape, E flat in the G shape, E flat in the E shape, E flat in the D shape. This is what you were talking about for yesterday. Once you get to a shape where the index finger bar is on or past the 12th fret, I take it down the octave by going to the index finger bar. Whatever fret that's on, I subtract that fret number by 12. This is on 13. 13 minus 12 is 1. Take the bar down to 1. So I'd E flat in the C shape, A shape, G shape, E shape, D shape. If I wanted to complete the cycle, second to last fret, bar goes down, I finish where I started. This is my cyclical approach to learning the 5 shapes of any key or any chord. I have created my own method of teaching the Cage system, so some of the terms that I throw around are things that I've created, like the cyclical approach. I have a directional approach, and my furthest fret formula, all of that is that note connection point thing. That's the key shape thing from yesterday. So if you try to Google some of this, well, I published some of it with Premier Guitar, so that stuff can be, you can actually Google it. But anyway, I try to teach things on the guitar that can't be Googled, that haven't been done yet, which is hard when something's been taught on for hundreds of years. But anyway, let's plug in the major scales. So the E flat major scale in the C shape. Okay, E flat major scale in the A shape. There you go. Okay, E flat in the G shape. E flat in the G shape, E flat in the E shape. And then E flat in the D shape. Now this one, if you want to, you can play it a higher octave because this one does have an open string. So sometimes to be safe, if I wanted to play it up higher, because this one would have open strings, okay? Let me do it one more time and not mess up. I hate playing in open positions. Sometimes people think, oh, open position's easy, I'm using open strings. It really messes me up because you're so used to the finger position. So like even for me, it's been a long day. That tripped me up for a second. So it's a great habit to get into, play it in a fully fretted position. And even think, if the fully fretted position of E flat in the D shape, it starts on the 13th fret, I want to think, okay, 13, 15, 16, 13, 15, 12. But now I'm going to think about it as 12 as the open string. So I'm going to think about it as 1, 3, 4, 1, 3, 0, 1, 3, 0, 1, 3, 1, 3, 4, 1, 3, 4. That way I can think 1, 3, 4, 1, 3, 0, 1, 3, 0, 1, 3, 1, 3, 4, 1, 3, 4. Now you've got it, okay? So just being able to do that up a higher octave to, again, allow muscle memory to do the heavy lifting for you. So like, but even for me, if I'm going to be playing something in E flat, I'm probably, if I'm going to be using that shape, I'm not going to use the entire shape, or I'll use it up an octave just so I have full range of everything. I also don't really use open positions that much because you cannot manipulate an open string. Not that I'm being manipulative, but I have no control over it. I can't do anything to that. But if I can add vibrato, I can bend, I can cut off the sound. There's a lot I can do with it. Okay, so that's how, if you understand the concept of this for the key of C, you can do this for any key. Now I know I gave you the diagrams for the key of C. That's great. You can purchase the ones for every key if you want to on my website. It's just you go to the video courses page and then they're at the bottom there. I also give all of these to my coaching group and to my one-on-one students. So if whoever's getting the one-on-one lesson will get all of these, okay? Okay, does anybody know what time it is? Because my phone's over there, computer's there.
3:12.
Wow, but it's 3:12?
3:12.
So I made it before 3:15.
Yeah.
Quarter after, we got 3 more minutes. Okay, very good. Okay, so that's everything that I wanted to get through. I think I got through all of it. Hopefully we learned something.